Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I am Defense Attorney Josiah Mueller, representing the defendant, John Franks. Mr. Franks is here today wrongfully accused of the murder of Florence Small, his beloved wife. At the end of this trial, we, the defense, will ask that you render the verdict of not guilty. As you will see throughout this trial, this is the only correct verdict for this case. The prosecution is having you consider 4 points, which I think is besides the point because there are only two things that you need to know. The first being that my client, Mr. Franks, was not even home during the time that the murder took place. He was out of town on a business trip, which is not uncommon for his job. He was even accompanied by a colleague. You will hear from the innkeeper of Young's Hotel, where my client was staying at during the time of this incident. My client was also out to dinner and served at the Harbor Lane Cafe. The waitress is also here for you to hear from. While my client was out to dinner at the cafe, the innkeeper had received a phone call trying to reach Mr. Franks about the fire at his residence. This is when the keeper found my client and his colleagues at the cafe for their meal and told my client the news. After finishing dinner, my client returned back to his home to see the damage that had already taken place. You will hear from an expert witness with medical professional background of multiple years, both in forensic science and professional experience as a coroner. You will realize that the prosecution are trying to relate the time of death on a method that is not based in science. The second point being that the prosecution has lacked in their job of doing their due diligence and has not even considered or interviewed any other possible suspects. Another individual was present at the time of the scene when the fire took place and the murder. The police have yet to even get a statement from him. The individual was living in the boathouse. The reporting officer even mentions the possible bedding area made out of the cells in his field report. We can see in the image of inside the boathouse a rope-like material. You will also hear from the prosecution's witness, the neighbor, who in her affidavit claimed to see a rope-like material around a possible human figure tied to a bed. The other evidence found of the gun shell casing was found outside. This could have been dropped on the walk back to the boathouse. In conclusion, at the end of this trial, you will see just why the defense is asking you to find our client, Mr. Franks, not guilty. As the reasons I have briefly stated clearly explain that the prosecution will not be able to meet the burden of proof necessary for a guilty verdict, and a wrongfully guilty verdict would be a travesty for this case. Thank you.